So in this final set of lessons, we're going to look at how to mix together the methods that we've talked about now with things like conditionals or loops. So that's our goal by the end of this lesson, that we can use those loops and conditionals tied together with function calls. Basically take everything we've learned so far and tie it together. So the first program that we're going to make two together, where we want to roll two dice and keep track of how many times we've rolled two dice until we get snake eyes. Now remember, snake eyes means that we get each die being 1, which means that we get a total of 2 for our roll. So that's what we're trying to track, how long it takes us to roll a total of 2 or 2 die each with a 1 on them. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to have to keep track of how many rolls have taken place until we hit that snake eyes value. And then we're going to print that number of rolls to the screen. So I want to brainstorm a little bit before we get started. The first thing I know that I'm going to need is I'm going to need a type of function that tracks the roll itself. And so in this one, I'm going to roll 2 die, and I'm going to do that randomly, values 1 to 6. And then I'm going to return the roll total to the main program. So that's one function that I know I need to create. Now in my main, I know that I also need other things, like I need to keep track of how many rolls take place. So I'm going to have two main variables, rolls and roll total. Rolls is going to be the number of times I have rolled the die, and roll total is going to be my total with the 2 die values added together. We're going to have to create a function here, and then we're going to have some sort of output to the screen. So I know that I'm going to need one function. It's going to roll those 2 dice randomly. And essentially what I want to happen is I want to keep rolling until I roll a 2, which tells me that I'm going to need some sort of loop. And since I don't know how many times I'm going to loop, I'm specifically going to need a while loop. So this is just me kind of brainstorming out what I'm going to need to do. So over here, you can see that I've started my new Python program. I have Unit 6, Lesson 5A, and I called it Snake Eyes. And it's going to count how many rolls it takes until we roll Snake Eyes, a 1 and a 1, or you can do a total of 2. So you want to open up a new Python lesson, Unit 6, Lesson 5A, save it, and then we can get started. So we'll start off with our definition main. And I know that I need 2 variables to start, so I'm going to define them right off the bat. Roll, I'm going to start at 0. This is going to track how many times we have rolled dice. And roll total, I'm going to start it off at 0, is the total of my current roll. 2 die values added together. So those are the 2 variables that I know I need to keep track of as I work. Now this next part here says I want to keep rolling until I roll a 2. So that tells me that after I've found my roll and my roll total, or I've got those started, the next thing I want to happen is I want to create a while loop. And I want this to keep rolling until my roll total is 2. I'm going to say while roll total, and I want to say is not 2. So I'm going to do is not equal to 2. That's when I'm going to roll. So I want to keep rolling while my roll total is not 2. If it's anything else, if it's 0, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that's fine. I just want my roll total to be 2 to be what pops me out of this loop. So we're going to keep rolling until roll total equals 2. So that's what that not equals is helpful for, where you want something to keep happening until one specific instance occurs. Now, here's where I need to have a function, because I'm going to have a function that simulates a roll. So I'm going to pause my thinking here for a second. I'm going to go think about how I want to roll this die. So here I put a little marker to say, hey, new function is starting. And then here I'm going to do definition roll. And we'll do roll dice just for name easiest. Make the names a little easier, I guess. We'll do definition roll dice. Now in here, I'm going to need 2 roll values because I have to roll 2 die. So I'll do roll 1. It's a little hard to see, but we'll be okay. And then we'll do roll 2. Roll 1, we want to randomly generate. We want to generate an integer, so we need rand range. We're going to generate 1, and we're going to do 7 because this will generate a random integer 1, 2 through 6. And then we'll do the same line of code here, rand range 1, 7. Again, this will generate a random integer 1 through 6. So here we're generating our 2 random numbers. Now, if I want to use rand range, I need to import my random functions at the very, very beginning. So I want to import in the rand range functions. So here I'm going to type in from random import rand range so that I can use these functions in my program. So here I'm going to add in a little bit of information. I'm going to say randomly generates 2 die rolls, in parentheses 1 to 6, and it's going to, as I can see over here, return the roll total. So once I've rolled these 2 together, I need to calculate my roll total. So here I have roll total, and if you don't like having the same matching names in the main and the die, you can do roll total, you can do in roll dice if you like. I'm going to leave it as roll total, but you can change the name if you don't like it to be the same. But roll total is going to be roll 1 plus roll 2. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to return that roll total back to the main program. So this is what's going to roll my dice. It's going to generate a random number, 1 to 6. It's then going to calculate the total of the roll, and then it's going to return the roll total back to the calling function. So we're now going to head back up here, and now we can actually use this to our advantage. So I'm going to come back, there we go. The inside of my while loop, I'm going to call my function roll dice. This is what's going to roll my dice in the first place. Now from here, remember, I want to make sure that I am saving the value returned by roll dice. And I want to save it in my roll total because that's what it's going to return. So we have roll total. This is the roll total in main. And this is going to hold this returned value. So it rolls the dice and saves the total returned. That's what this line of code is doing. Then from here, because we've rolled our dice once, the only other thing we want to do inside this while loop is we want to do roll equals roll plus 1. So it adds 1 to our roll count. Now, if you want to see what's actually rolling each time so that we can see what's happening, so we can do print current roll value just to kind of check and make sure it's working. We can do that in the middle of our program. Now, the last thing we need to do is we need to print out how many rolls it takes to do this. So we'll do a print statement after our while loop. So notice I indented back. And we'll do a print statement here that said it took, those in quotations. We'll put our roll value to roll a snake dice.